Well, hello there, folks. Geraldine, how are you?
I'm great, Larry. How are you? Hi, Spider.
Yes, Spider is doing really well. You know, yesterday we had we're going to get you puzzled. We had his treat ball inside of the climb platforms. So we prepared another show later in the day, and I got to show you what Spider did.
This is hilarious.
From the laundry lounge over into the studio. Check this out. This here, folks, this is I think it's a 10-pound sandbag. He pushed that off of the climb platform to get onto his.
He tore it up.
He just tore it up. So we're going to try that again and see if he succeeds. So we have here Spider's treat ball, some treats right inside of here, making the puzzle harder by putting it in a dog bowl, putting the dog bowl inside of another dog bowl, and wait there, buddy. Then wedging the dog bowl in between the two climb platforms and ready to go. He jumped the gun.
He's so good. He's so excited.
He really is. You know, and we were talking about how smart dogs are.
They're ingenious.
Yes.
And today we're actually going to discuss some ingenious hero dogs, and be prepared to have your mind blown today.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, some amazing stuff. We get to make our first Dog Hugs Hero Award today. So excited.
Not only that, we have two ingenious people today, two ingenious human animals that we're discussing ingenious dogs with today. So today's just a big warm fuzzy. It really is. And you'll want to watch this one several times because it will literally blow your mind.
Yeah. It's really exciting. Well, should we jump right in, or are we gonna do anything else before that?
Well, you know, one little tiny tidbit, because it's 4th of July tomorrow.
Right.
Make certain that you follow a couple simple steps if you're just now tuning in and going, I forgot to train my dog for 4th of July, or you have a new pet from a shelter, rescue, or you're fostering. Fine, let your pet show you where their safe space is. Don't try to force them someplace they shouldn't be. And also, if they're acting up in that crazy of a manner, call your veterinarian right now to ask them what they can do to help, especially if it's a veterinarian behaviorist, because at that point, they might cause harm to themselves or you. So it's really good to have that in your back pocket just in case. And then you need to calm down so that you're not super stressed. So make sure you calm thyself first before you even think about any of those other aspects, and go back and watch some of our other shows. We gave some really great tips, and they're sitting there ready for you to dive in.
Yeah, just turn up the sound and have yourself a few laughs.
Absolutely.
Great.
So
really,
that's
really
some
tips.
Some great beginning steps for you to start right now. Exercise a little bit more and make things harder to do, like Larry has for Spider. Wears them out.
Yeah, that's right. You know, typically at this time of year, shelters get a spike in abandoned dogs coming into shelters because they've been lost over the 4th of July. They've gotten out of the house, climbed out of the yard, escaped, run away, panicked, gotten lost their collars, and unless they're microchipped, which we'll explain what that is in a moment, the only way to retrieve your dog is to go hunting around various shelters, and that's really hard to do.
Really hard to do.
A microchip is something that is inserted just under the skin. It's completely harmless. It just takes a couple of minutes. Just put it in, and it can be scanned like with a supermarket barcode scanner, and then it connects to a database where you put in your dog's ID information, and it's very simple to do. Obviously, it's going to be too late to get that all set up before the 4th of July, so just make sure you keep your dog in your house.
Well, some people are having clinics right now to do that at a discounted or free service. Yes, there are some today, and there might be some tomorrow, so check your local listings to find out what is available for you. And also make sure you update that information, because it doesn't do any good if you don't update the chip, and if the chip says nothing on it, and you've never put your name and address and phone number in, they have no way of getting a hold of you. And so that's one of the issues with why so many are not returned, because they might buy a new dog or adopt a new dog and not have updated the information.
Excellent point.
So once again, be mindful, but how is he doing back there? How is Spider? Yes.
That's how he's doing. It's like,
he's busy.
Dad, I'm done.
We got to keep him busy.
I need a bigger challenge.
So right there tells us that cattle dogs are very smart, and what's neat about our guests today is I know that they're from Missouri, Kansas and Missouri area, mostly Missouri. The hero dog we're speaking about is from Missouri. I actually grew up right outside of Missouri. I grew up in Nebraska, but I went to college in Missouri, and I live in Kansas now, right on the Missouri line. And the dog that we're speaking about today was a farm dog. Was born in Louisiana and then moved to Missouri. So this famous dog here who has its own museum, which is amazing, and book. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk to the two ingenious people who know a lot about this ingenious hero dog. And I'm gonna introduce those first, and then we're gonna talk more about Hero. Unless Larry, you'd like to read Hero's headstone first.
Right in this beautiful park is Jim the Wonder Dog's park and museum. And so from this plaque, it says, when Sam Van Arsdale came into possession of an English Llewellyn setter pup. Geraldine, what's an English Llewellyn setter also known as?
Well, it's actually an English setter, frankly. Yes. The Llewellyn part is usually the name of the breeder or the farm from where the pet came, or the city, the town where the breed may have come from. So it's essentially an English setter, which is a bird dog, a hunting dog, a very intelligent, very calm, people-oriented dog.
Yeah. So Sam Van Arsdale called him Jim, and he had no hope or expectation of anything but a good quail hunting dog. However, Jim proved to be much more than an excellent hunter. Sam found that Jim could understand and perfectly carry out instructions given to him, even those in foreign language, shorthand, or Morse code, exhibiting a sense beyond human comprehension. The fact that Jim was also able to predict the outcome of future events seemed to indicate that he possessed psychic power. Jim performed regularly for people who had to see for themselves, as well as for newspapers and magazine reporters. He was featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not, Reader's Digest, Outdoor Life, and other magazines. A book was even written about Jim. His home in Marshall, Missouri was in the Ruff Hotel. Let me pull up the Ruff
Isn't that great?
Yeah. The Ruff Hotel, which stood on the site of this statue and garden, and was owned and operated by Mr. Van Arsdale. His grave with a simple headstone marker is in the Marshall Ridge Park Cemetery. Caretakers say it is one of the most visited graves and is seldom without flowers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
To visit a wonderful, beautiful park. All right, so now we're going to introduce our experts on Jim the Wonder Dog.
We have two experts, and I believe them to both be experts not only in their field, but experts in the area of pets in general, as a what I call a certified amazing dog owner. Paula Peters. Paula is a wife. She's a mother of 3. She's a pet parent of a golden doodle named Yankee. She studied at Missouri Western State University, and she holds degrees in marketing and French. She worked in the international transportation industry for 10 years, and she came to work for Dr. Joe after nearly 2 decades of successful entrepreneurial work while at home raising her children, which is a feat in itself, I promise you. She's a key member of Pet's Best Life and the Yummy Combs brand, and she has continued to contribute, including their designing their packaging and assisting in preparing international channels and other marketing and sales efforts for the Yummy Comb brand, which I believe is an ingenious treat and especially great to help make your dog an ingenious dog. And then let's talk about Dr. Joe Rately. He's our other guest today. We had him on the show last week, and we plan on having many of the Yummy Combs team on with us often. Dr. Joe worked for the federal government for 18 years before he became quite a successful entrepreneur with his wife, Judy, for the past 25 years. Judy and he are the inspiration and founders of Greenies, and now the founders and inspiration of Yummy Combs. Joe is an inventor and holds 6 patents, including 4 on the new Yummy Combs branded treat. And he and Judy, who have been married for 47 years, were honored recently by a Stevie Award from the American Business Association as having the best company in America with less than 100 employees, and also by an American Business Association award, and also granted a Stevie Award for Best Packaging Design. So thank you, Paula, and Dr. Joe, for all you've done, not only to help pets live their best life, but also for being such great pet parents. So let's welcome them to the show while we discuss Ingenious Hero Dogs. They are our Ingenious Hero Dog experts today.
Welcome.
Welcome. Doctor, so both of
Thank
you,
you.
both of you deserve our Dog Hugs Hero Awards, because what we are beginning is recognizing hero dogs and all the things that they do for us humans. And I'd love to hear more about Jim the Wonder Dog, because Dr. Joe, you actually were able to communicate with people who knew him, had been around people that had his puppies. I'd like to hear more.
Yes. Well, this is a fascinating story. I think perhaps it's more fascinating to me than it would be to some people, because it starts off as a prank. This gentleman down in Texas, last name Taylor, had this litter of pups back in 1925. And Mr. Van Arsdale knew him, went down to see him, and almost bought one of the other pups, and then decided not to. And Mr. Van Arsdale was somewhat of a prankster himself, but he went back to West Plains, Missouri, where he lived, and was there for about a week. And one day the people from the train station came and said, "Sir, we have your dog down at the train station." And Mr. Van Arsdale goes, "What? What are you talking about?" Well, Mr. Taylor had pulled the prank. He sent the runt of the litter, no charge, to Mr. Van Arsdale just to see what he'd do with it. And it turns out that he is an absolutely amazing dog. You've heard a little bit about him, but this dog predicted the winner of the Kentucky Derby 7 years in a row before it rained. I just find that as absolutely fascinating that a dog can do something like that. But we know the dogs are really have some keen instincts. In fact, I have talked with some people that have been doing some research, and they say that dogs can pick up on cancer in people before it can be detected with equipment. So that's just a little background on Jim, and we'll go into some of the things that Jim could actually do. Starting off, there's a great story about a young girl, and Mr. Van Arsdale had a group of people around, and he saw this young girl in the audience, and he just goes to Jim, "Jim, can you go pick out someone in a red dress?" And Jim trotted right over to her, put his paw up, didn't touch her, but put his paw up, and that's how he would identify people for Jim. So that's just a very brief piece. We'll run through some things, but I guess where Mr. Van Arsdale really first learned that Jim had some special instincts, talents. I don't know what you call this stuff, but Mr. Van Arsdale
Ingenious.
also farmed.
Ingenious.
Ingenious, yes. And so Mr. Van Arsdale was out farming one day with horses, and it was a hot day. And so in mid-afternoon, Mr. Van Arsdale just basically said, "Jim, I think I'm going to go sit under the hickory tree for a little while, cool down." When Mr. Van Arsdale gets to the hickory tree, Jim's sitting there under the hickory tree. Mr. Van Arsdale goes, "Man, that's kind of interesting. Wonder if he can identify other trees." So he sent him off to find a walnut tree and an oak tree and an elm tree and a sycamore tree and a walnut tree and all these different types of oak trees. And Jim got every one of them right. He just would run right to the tree, put his paw up on the tree. And Mr. Van Arsdale said, "Nah, that was pretty interesting. Wonder what else he can do." So as time went on, he started trying different things with Jim. And he was in Sedalia, Missouri one day, and he was talking to this guy about what Jim could do. And he said, well, you think he can identify license plates? And Mr. Van Arsdale, well, don't know, never tried it. What's your license plate number? So the man gives the license plate number to Mr. Van Arsdale. Mr. Van Arsdale says, Jim, can you go find a car with this license plate? He takes off running and goes out there. In a little while, he's standing there with his paw up on the fender right next to the license plate, and he's got the right car with the right license plate. Fascinating that a dog can do that to me. So then it kind of broadened out, and Mr. Van Arsdale was a little bit of a showman. And so he would get people in his hotel and places and, small crowds. And he'd be doing stuff like, Jim, find me the man with the red necktie. Or if I had a toothache, who would I go see? And Jim would run over and stand right by the dentist. Or find me the woman in the blue dress today. And Jim would go over there, and Jim would not touch the women. He was very respectful. He wouldn't touch them. He just put his paw up there right by him to show Mr. Van Arsdale that he had found the right one. And Jim always allowed ladies to go through a door before he would go through. Something that's kind of gone by the wayside to a good spot now.
I teach my Senna. Jim, I teach my, Joe, I teach my Senna, just like Jim was a gentleman. I teach my Senna to allow ladies first.
Yep.
So I believe, I agree with
practice.
you. That's something that's been lost in art in today. And I do believe that should be brought back. So thank you for mentioning that.
One other thing that I might say here is most of us that are around dogs very much have heard that dogs basically are colorblind. Well, Jim was not colorblind. He could pick out the blue dress, the red tie, the white shoes, and all these different colored items, which was quite interesting to me. Paula, you got a story you would like to share?
Sure. Well, my grandfather was a cigar smoker, so this one kind of touched my heart. Mr. Van Arsdale was also a cigar smoker, and he liked Chancellors. And every day he would go in to pick up a cigar. And Jim would regularly, upon command, go and identify the box of cigars. And one day, the clerk had moved the cigars to the other end of the case. And that day, upon command, he trotted right down the aisle to the end of the case and picked out the cigar. The clerk at that point was interested, but still questioning, and so they tested him a little bit more, and he was asked to go find the tomatoes and a bucket and a box of soap, and finally the clerk was a believer.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So another thing that Mr. Van Arsdale started doing was doing more history type things. And so this was in the late 20s, early 30s. And one day he asked Jim, anything you can find me that would have been used in the war? And Jim ran over to the courthouse, and there was a cannon sitting on the lawn. Jim's up there with his paw on the cannon, and could have that level of understanding and reaction where he could do things like that. Really fascinated me. Another thing Mr. Van Arsdale did was he said one day, Jim, we had some money. Where could we put it that Al Capone couldn't get to it? Jim went to the safe in the hotel and put his paw up there on the safe to identify the safe as a safe place.
Wow. It's crazy, isn't it? How they put that together. It's amazing.
Yeah. And
oh, Larry, you're muted.
At one point there was a buyer.
Go ahead, Jim. Okay. Go ahead, Larry.
Well, if you're still skeptical, I'm going to invite you to watch the episode of Nova, the science show with Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he shows this level of smarts with a dog. So you're welcome to be skeptical. And I've seen stuff like this with one other dog.
If you're still skeptical, I'll let you know this little tidbit. When Senna first arrived to my house, within 6 weeks of training him, one day I thought in my mind, if he could just go get my clicker for me right now, because I can't find it. And the next thing I know, he walked up and handed me my clicker out of his mouth and dropped it right in my hand. And I went, what in the world? So I own one of those dogs. I completely understand. And his mother is one of those dogs, along with many of his siblings. So if you're skeptical, just follow us on social. I share a lot of those Wonder Dog videos that are in existence now. We are so honored to pay homage to this amazing Wonder Dog, who I believe set a precedent for ingenious dog today. I mean, that's why we have something to compare it to. This is an amazing way to validate how we're training even COVID and cancer sniffing dogs today.
Beautiful.
So, Dr. Joe, is there any, or Paula, are there any other stories you'd like to share about Jim the Wonder Dog? Because there are so many, but I know there are a couple more that you might want to share.
Well, I certainly could.
Go ahead.
I love that.
Okay. So the park talks about him being able to read shorthand, and the story that goes along with that is there was a group at the hotel, and they were questioning Jim's abilities, and so he asked a woman that was there if she knew shorthand, because Mr. Van Arsdale did not. And so she wrote something down in shorthand on a piece of paper and laid it on the ground, and Jim was commanded to read it and do it. And the woman exclaimed because she was so excited that he was actually doing it. He went out and found the gentleman that had rolled up socks. Just another credible example of the amazing feats this dog was able to do.
That's amazing to me. And so now that I have the two of you right here, let's talk about this amazing, ingenious chew. I have the extra small right here, and back here I have one of the extra large. So you can see they range in sizes from this to this, but there's a method behind not only the packaging, because this packaging is important, but also behind the shape. So why don't you guys each take a turn talking a little bit about your inspiration and because I think of you both as ingenious.
Well, my start on this was safety first. And when I was about 4 years old, I lived on a farm, grew up on a farm, and our family dog, which my pet basically, was killed in a farm accident. So I've always had this safety in my mind. So the first thing that this product does, it is built wider than the dog's throats, 5 different weight categories. So it cannot be gulped without the chew.
Which is really important, especially during this time of year. Pet preparedness, being ready to help your dog if they have an accident with a chew. This is a really great chew that is designed to not be able to be inhaled or get lodged in your pet's throat. So they kept that in mind while they were designing it, which is so important and ingenious. And Paula, share with us one of your favorite ingredients, because there are so many ingredients and they're all very important. But we've been focusing on them a couple at a time, so that information really sticks and we understand it, and also they're so beneficial.
This treat is so carefully created. One of my favorite ones, though, is the honey, because it boosts the immune system and helps protect the animal from getting sick. So it's pure, it's simple, but I like honey.
Which is a really great thing, because right now everyone can use their immune system boosted, and right now everybody could certainly use a dog hug. So let's go straight into a shelter shout out from the two of you. I think that, first of all, you've done so much to help give back to the pet industry, not just with your work, but also you've really helped a local shelter quite a bit. Dr. Joe, tell us a little bit about your shelter shout out.
Pets for Life is a local pet therapy group that we work with here that has done amazing work with different people. We also work with Wayside Waifs quite a bit. So those are two of them that I would point out today, the person I would shout out about is Larry Atwood, who runs the Jim the Wonder Dog Museum over in Marshall, Missouri.
Nice. And Paula?
Oh, I did that. Wayside Waifs is a great organization.
Yes, absolutely. And now how about gratitude? You know, we're all about gratitude here. So we would love to hear who you would like to give some gratitude to today. Paula.
Well, I'm grateful to God to be able to live in a free country, especially as we get ready to celebrate our Independence Day.
Right. That's wonderful. Great shout out. Independence is really important. The freedom to be ourselves is really important. And being able to create a treat that helps pets have a better immune system, a better gut health, better protein sources, and it helps them be able to have a better cognitive function, especially when you're training them and helping them understand you and become their own ingenious hero. That's such a big contribution, and we're so grateful for both of you for all you've done to help with pets living their best life, giving them the ability to. So I'm not sure if Larry has anything else he wants to add into that, but I definitely am grateful for you two taking the time out of your schedules today to spend this much time discussing this ingenious hero dog who we love, and we'll be visiting his museum as soon as it opens back up.
I'm really looking forward. You know, my very first pilgrimage to Kansas City was to go to another museum. I went to the Negro Leagues Baseball Hall of Fame and found out that right next to it was this jazz museum. And it turns out that two of the things I love best in life are baseball and jazz. So this was a dream day. And now I can go visit Jim the Wonder Dog on my next trip to you guys.
Perfect. I think that's perfect.
So when you're in Kansas City, you also ought to visit the only World War I museum in the country.
I
It's
didn't know that.
fascinating.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We'll definitely bring you some highlights from the museum as soon as we're able to visit the museum. So both actually, they are both magnificent.
I remember studying World War I flying aces. Of course, that was the really most glamorous thing that we knew of that very challenging war that happened concurrently with, the flu pandemic. So that you're bringing it up is really kind of goes full circle, I guess, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
It definitely does. Well, thank you so much for bringing to light how ingenious all dogs are. This is really an inspiring story. And Jim, the Wonder Dog, is the first recipient of our Dog HUGS Hero Dog Award.
Yay, Jim.
So yay to Jim. And thank you for sharing. And we look forward to having you back on our show again soon to discuss more things Yummy Comb and how to help more ways to help your Thank you
guys.
Thank you.
Wow, that was really, really special. Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. And so honored to be able to celebrate, our first Dog HUGS hero and have it be Jim the Wonder Dog because as you and I share, Geraldine, I mean, inside of every dog is this undiscovered star. Isn't that right, bud? Yeah, come on up. Give us a hug, buddy. There we go. Yeah.
Good boy, Spider. So beautiful.
So it sounds like Mr. Van Arsdale found that diamond in the rough hotel.
He did. It's a fantastic story. It's so inspirational because all you need is that inspiration to start playing with your dog, and then you actually start discovering some really neat things about them, especially when you're using tricks like Larry is with Spider to things to make him think, help him really think. And it's amazing how they think.
He accidentally rolled his treat down in the one place he can't reach. So I'm going to go ahead. It rolled right underneath the clay platform and he can't get it. So, okay, here we go again. We're going to load it up with another bunch.
Nice.
Every day.
Hey, he's looking slim there too.
What's that?
He's looking slim there.
Thank you.
He looks good.
he has dropped a pound. You know, I was getting a little lax. Every day I measure out his food, and you know, some of it becomes treats, and this is his favorite, you know, room in the house because every time we come to the laundry lounge, he knows it's potty time. Okay, wait there.
It's potty time in the laundry lounge.
So this time he was able to solve the puzzle without destroying the whole platforms. And we'll just do the same puzzle again for him. Putting the treat ball inside of the dog bowls, cover it with another dog ball, wedge it inside of the climb platforms, and let's see how fast he goes. I didn't even say go. That's on me.
We'll work on that. We all make mistakes.
We'll work on
I
that.
catch myself doing something wrong every day, and I just correct it. So you're all good.
Dog training is not a destination; it's a journey.
It's a journey, that's for sure. It's a furry journey.
Yeah. My shelter shout out for most of this week, you know, has been to our good friends in Southern Arizona at the Humane Society of Southern Arizona in Tucson, and big blessings to all the folks there. And so that's my shelter shout out for today. Yeah.
And my shelter shout out, besides Wayside Waifs.
He saw.
Yeah. He did. In like 3 seconds flat, right?
Pretty much.
My shelter shout out is, besides Wayside Waifs, is every shelter in the world that is going to experience an influx of pets from their owners not being quite as proactive and maybe not being prepared, not knowing how to be prepared. So
who haven't yet watched our show.
Haven't yet watched our show. So please grab some tips from our show. We'll be sharing many more.
Yeah, that sounds great. We've got a couple of great comments here from our wonderful audience. Make sure some idiots don't rip it down. I wonder what that's about. Oh, the statue is probably what they're talking to.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Actually, the statue is very valuable. Suzanne, what is up with your picture there?
That's great. What a fun avatar.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thanks for your comments.
And I know we've got a very special shared gratitude today. Do you want to share the folks who our thoughts are with today?
So we have our thoughts are with Robbie, and we dedicate today's show to our who we believe to be our charter, who we began this whole program of Dog Hugs, Hero Dog Awards for, is Henrietta. We feel like Henrietta is and always will be a hero dog for a Dog Hugs hero dog for Robbie. So our gratitude goes out to her, both of them, for everything they meant for each other and how Henrietta is going to come back to her. So thank you, Robbie. And thank you, Henrietta.
Yeah, we miss you, Robbie, and take all the time you need to mourn, to heal. And thank you, folks, for sending blessings to Robbie. That really, I know, means a lot to us, and I know it means a lot to Robbie as well. Well, thank you again to Dr. Joe and Paula and Yummy Comes for being with us today on the show. And when you're in the Kansas City area, do visit Jim the Wonder Dog, our first Dog Hugs hero.
Definitely. And also, and when you're if you're at the store, or if you're jumping on Amazon, make sure you order some, or PetSmart, Chewy, order some. Try out those Yummy Combs. They're really great, especially during stressful times. I know thunderstorms aren't going to go away anytime soon. But thank you for all the ingenious human animals, and to all the ingenious dog, cat, and other animals out there. Thank you for all that you do for us. And we're here to support you with all the tips and tricks that we have to offer from all of our years of experience and all these amazing guests that we're so lucky to have join us. Well said. Well, you guys have a great and safe 4th of July weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again on Monday. Take care. Happy Independence Day, everybody.